And hello there, my beautiful and lovely gamers. My name is Jonal. Today we're going over Bam's side. We're going over his stats, his direct numbers about how much damage, how much heals, where his droppers are, how big stuff is, and so on, how high stuff hovers, and all that good stuff. Talking also a little bit in the end about him in the meta, how he's probably going to be shaping out, and my experience with him as a coach. And then, of course, also a couple of little bit tips and tricks that I noticed while running over most of these stats that is very, very useful to run over. Very sorry for slow video upload. Again, it's university, as you guys know. It is really just me going early to university, programming, staying late, coming home, programming some more, right? Then on top of the fact that I need a private coach and all that kind of stuff, it just really just adds up in the long run. Now, let's really begin. As a BAP side, you have a base health of 200. You are a support hero. You're kind of like a combat medic. And the hitbox is quite large, very noticeable, especially for DPS is going to counter him. So quite a lot of hitbox with 200 health. Now, your primary fire is your periodic rifle. You fire a round of 3 in burst, the 25 damage per bullet, with double headshot multiplier. Meaning, if you land one burst all to the head, that's 150 damage. Now you have 45 bullets in the magazine, and you have damage drop off around the 20-ish meter mark. And the damage drop off is fairly decent. It's not like crippling or anything like that, but it is noticeable. You also again has quite noticeable recoil. This is on the screen right now. It's me just holding mouse 1, really just firing without compensating, but it is also doable to compensate for this recoil. Now, your secondary fire is your periodic rifle. Now, you shoot a nade that heals the team for about 50 health per shot. You have 10 nades in the magazine. The heal effect is about a 2-meter radius. And it has no effect on yourself, so you can't use this to heal yourself no matter what. When you reload, so when you press the reload button, you're going to reload both your bullets and your nades at the same time. And if you are in combat and so on, it is very efficient to shoot your nade and then shoot your primary fire. Your nades have a firing time, right? So you can shoot, then you kind of need to choke in another nade. So if you shoot burst, shoot burst, shoot burst, shoot burst, then you can heal damage, and you won't actually lose any amount of healing or any amount of damage output, as they kind of time very easily with each other. However, you will run out of nades before you run out of shots. And one of the things to notice with your primary fire is that because you do 25 per bullet and you have 45 bullets in the magazine, that means before you have to reload, you can do a maximum of 1,125 damage. Or if you, for some reason, had all headshots, that would be 2,250 damage. That's something really nice to note, and with your nade you can heal about 500 health before you have to reload. Let's go to your abilities. You have a regenerated burst, which is an AoE heal that does heal yourself. It has a 15-second cooldown. However, the cooldown starts when you hit the button, and the AoE healing lasts for 5 seconds, meaning that the break in between a heal will only actually be 10 seconds of cooldown. When you pop it, 5-second duration, lasts for 15 seconds, so there will be 10 seconds left before I can pop a new one. Very noticeable to do. Now this heals, again, in AoE, in 10-meter radius, and it heals for about 150 health. Your E is your immortality field. It has a 20-second cooldown, and it is also starting when the drone is deployed immediately. Now, this creates a kind of a 6-meter radius field when the drone is deployed, and it does that. You cannot drop under 20% of your HP as long as you're inside of this circle. Now, if you're already below 20 HP, this will immediately heal you up to 20% of your HP. But yeah, quite easy. 60-meter radius of immortality, cannot drop under 20% of your HP while you're in there, and it will heal you back up to 20% if you fall under while it lasts. It has a duration of 8 seconds, and remember that the cooldown starts going down as soon as you pop it, meaning if it lasts for its entire duration, there's only a 12-second gap before you can deploy a new one. Now, the drone can be destroyed. It has 250 health, and what's very noticeable with this is that this does not peek over Ryan or Winston bubbles. If you deploy it and Ryan tries to shield, at least if you deploy it on a flat surface and Ryan is on the same surface, it will not peek over his shields, meaning it's very difficult to just shoot straight over. At least the hitbox won't be. If it peaks with a bare minimum that you can maybe hit it with a projectile, but that's going to be very thin to the hair between hitting the shield and actually hitting the drone. Very noticeable to do, as it is 250 health, is quite easily destroying one of the biggest counter to it, most likely. Even though you can deploy it around walls and stuff like that, but by playing it with shield like bubble and so on, you first have to remove the shield and then remove the drone, or shoot around or over the shield or EMP or do something similar to that to actually get rid of the immortality field. Now your ultimate ability is quite strong. It's your amplification matrix, and this essentially just makes a barrier, and all healing and damage, projectiles or bullets and stuff like that, that you or your allies shoot through is gonna have a double effect. So you will be doubling all your healing, doubling all your damage that will be flying through, that is from a bullet or from a projectile. Now this can be rotated just like a May wall by just pressing the button once again. And the size is about the same height as Ryan's shield and a little bit less in width. Now it lasts for about 7 to 8 seconds, and again it's a very, very powerful ability as it is doubling your damage. It's not like Nano Boost that gives you 50% damage boost. This will double your damage, meaning a fire strike that passes through here does not 100 but 200 damage of penetrating damage, right? Very important to know. Now, your passive ability is your extra boost. If essentially you hold crouch, you will then charge up a jump. And what happens is that when you press space, you can jump up to maximum about 10 meters. Now, if you stop crouching, you will not be able to jump. Essentially, if you start crouching and you charge up a jump and you don't want to use it, just uncrouch and it disappears. And if you don't want to jump as high as you can, then you can only charge it to a certain amount, and you can just press space and then you will jump immediately. Now, how is this guy going around with meta? What I would like to see, and what I think could be really cool to see, is one, a Widowmaker. A Widowmaker with the immortality field on her will essentially be winning every single Widow duel if they don't have the same thing, as she can legitimately stand still. She doesn't have to care about Sin Orbs anymore, or hands or arrows, or Widow shots, anything like that. So she can practically stand still, and she cannot die for the duration of that. So the 8 seconds that the immortality field is around her, she cannot die. On top of the fact that if you drop your ultimate to her, which you can give to her, it is quite scary to have a Widowmaker that on a headshot does 600 damage, because you can practically one-shot anyone, even tanks and so on, if this ultimate is given to her. Of course, that you can play line of sight against her and so on, and not take that duel and so on, but a very good Widowmaker with that kind of support can be very, very devastating. And the hero in himself, Baptiste, is very good without these abilities given to him. Giving that focus on a Widow to carry, especially in team composition, can be quite scary. But where I'm very much believing that she might actually be, or where he might be viable, where the Overwatch team might have thought that they wanted him to try to get played in, isn't these kind of Orisa poke comps or these kind of treehouse compositions where you would stack like Widow, Junkrat, Diva, Orisa, and then Baptiste and some other support here, for example, a Zenyatta or something like that. Maybe an Ana if you feel that the Baptiste is not healing enough, right? And that is actually kind of scary, as you will have Immortality Field doing that. You can actually, because again, what really counters these Pokems is that they allow to engage with too much HP, and if they're allowed to engage with 200 HP, you can drop an Immortality Field, sustain yourself back up, while these heavy damage CPSs and tanks, which normally would get pressured out, all of a sudden cannot die, while your supports are just pumping in healing into them. You have double damage boost for stuff like Junkrat, Orisa, Widowmaker, and the Baptiste himself. Not even talking about if there's a Zenyatta involved in this, right? You have AoE heals, you have good nades, right? And that is where I think that you could see him, on top of the fact that he actually works. You know, for example, if you would play it with a Mercy, for example, right? Your Pokemon would be having a damage boost, but be lacking one extra guy to shoot and deal damage. Damage boost, of course, one thing, but especially if she's kind of there to sustain and heal, that's kind of getting screwed over with her being allowed to damage boost constantly. But Baptiste can heal with his own AoE, with his nades, and shoot at the same time, doing 25 per shot on a tank where you can land a lot of sustainable headshot, right? 50 per bullet, you know, 150 damage burst coming at you, right? His damage output is pretty damn high, even without his ultimate being up there. And he has good mobility, so catching him out on a low ground or something like that, or pushing him down and then he's stuck on that low ground, is not going to be as efficient, as he can jump up to most height with his extra boots. So I'm actually very excited to see stuff like that, these kind of more Pokemon styles that might actually be abusing the fact that they can play with their Baptiste, especially if you can drop his if you can find location to set up, for example, maybe King's Road, the standard on first point, where you can drop your Immortality Field around corners and inside of houses where they are not easily shut down. Of course, again, I do believe that they are still covered by an Orisa shield, so you would have to remove the Orisa shield either way if you want to shoot it from range and not go up physically starting to destroy, right? And at that point it's, you know, they having to just try to destroy this extra thing, which creates a little bit extra pressure and again give you time to weaken, for example, the dive tanks, which won't, hopefully at least, won't be able to sustain through, and it becomes much more difficult for them to take you out immediately. Now that's my opinion about it. I would love to hear yours down in that comment section. Like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. It means a lot to me. And dropping, you know, in by the Discord server, on my Twitter, on my Twitch, all of those again are linked in the description. And if you're interested in hiring me as a private coach, doesn't matter if you're bronze or stuff 100, doesn't matter what heroes you play on, if you're console or PC, you can hit me up on our Discord server. I switch to you for a 2-hour session, and we can set up a coaching and hopefully immediately help you improve and rank up. Now, as always, guys, please stay positive and take care of yourself. And as always, my name is Jonal. I love you guys very, very much. And keep the enemy in your crosshairs.